Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Remedy Truth Podcast. I am your host, Rita Townsend, and I have some fun things to share today. I'm actually sitting in my office. Our house was sold yesterday. And so we are packing things up. We have a lease back until Monday, which is Memorial Day. And our buyers are moving in from Virginia. So this will be my last recording in this house, in my office, at this desk. And there's so many emotions that are attached to moving. And so the title of this is Moving in Chaos. Because I feel like even in life, we're moving through the chaos with God and with people and our emotions and our thoughts and our past hurts, our feelings, current situations, things that, we constantly are facing. But many of you have kind of been following my posts on Facebook and different things I've shared in some of my groups and meetings and things. And so here I am to just kind of give you a raw overview, if you will, of just what's been happening over the last 2 months. And I really just want to kind of be transparent about our situation and just selling our house and buying land and the ups and the downs and the emotions that are associated with that, especially when you make any kind of transition. It has been our hope and our dream to find a piece of land that we could build on, live simply, lower our output, increase our input, and then for Stephen, my husband, to build our retirement home with his bare hands. And so we put that dream out there for God long time ago. We started looking at land maybe 4 years ago when we purchased this home here in Trinity Falls, and we didn't find the land that we were looking for. Many of you may remember what the housing market was like in the middle of 2022. It was insane. I remember my husband and I got married July of 2020. He had a home in Garland that he had had for more than 2 decades. I had the home that my daughters and I lived in as a single mom after my divorce. And so I had my house, he had his house. We were dating. And then when we got married in 2020 during COVID, there was just no way to sell our house. We had to kind of do this little dance through dating and getting married and all the things for 3 years, having two mortgages, multiple situations. Stephen had his boys, he had 50% custody. So every other week he was at his home in Garland and I was up here in McKinney. And we did that for a long time. And the housing market was just it wasn't feasible to sell. And so we just kind of waited. You can listen to my episode on In the Waiting that I did a few months back. That one's a great one to kind of help you through that waiting process. God really refines you. He helps you to work through the lack of patience that you have and trusting him and surrendering to him. And through this process, I just sit here in my house that's sold, and I can tell you that surrendering is sometimes the thing that we want to do least. But when we do, it's amazing how what you give up is nothing compared to what you receive. But if you never try and you never surrender that thing or those things or that idea or that control, what happens is you never really know how good God really could have been in that situation for you, because he has plans and he can carry out those plans. But he counts on us to use our free will that he gives us to order those steps. And so if I'm not willing to take that, if I'm not willing to surrender what he's calling me to surrender, he just sits there holding this thing that he has designed and created for me. And he's like, when you're ready, I want to give this to you. I'm your loving father, and I have created this beautiful thing for you. And I can't give it to you because you won't surrender this tiny little silly thing that maybe an emotional attachment to. Maybe there's pain associated with it and you don't want to open that door. So we perpetuate. Anybody been through that? Anybody perpetuated? So to kind of help you understand the magnitude of selling this house, I want to kind of take you back to purchasing this house in 2022. So Stephen sold his home in April of 2022. I think we had like 20 offers in less than a day and a half on the property. He picked someone and sold it because that's just what was happening in 2022. People were throwing 30, 40, $50,000 overvalue onto the property to purchase it because of the housing market not having the inventory. I sold my home in November of 22. So interesting thing enough, I was watching the market and watching the trends. I'm a very strategic numbers person. I'm a maximizer. And I thought, well, if I list my house right at the end of the year, the value of the homes has started to come down, meaning we could purchase something a little bit lower. We may not get as much for my house, but I also knew the value of getting it listed, getting a buyer, and then finding what we wanted a few weeks, 2 months possible later, to where we have the contract on the house, that someone's purchasing it at a higher price, and then the reductions that are happening over 3-4 weeks. If we can find the one that we want at a lower value a month later before it closes, then we could capitalize on the reduction. And that happened. And that's it. This house was listed and it was on the market maybe 6 days because the market was starting to cool off. I thought, well, gosh, it's not even been a week. This house will be gone still. So we came in and I literally, we'd been looking for houses. We've been looking for houses since August of that year. And so here we are at the end of October and still hadn't found anything that was even close to what we wanted. But I had some ideas. I had this vision and this desire for certain things, and I was so stuck. I was so stuck in what I wanted and how I wanted it to be. And, if it wasn't going to be that, then we were just going to rent because there was no way we were going to, when you try to control things and you get all like a tyrant about your control and your stubbornness, God will work through that. He will deliver you from it too. It'll probably offend you first, then the healing comes after. But for me in that moment, it was like I was just so stuck on what I wanted. And so I wouldn't consider anything else that was a smarter decision, better decision, more feasible for us. I was just more, better, better, better. My mindset was not in the healthy place. And there was a lot of things that came out after COVID, with people just trying to reground themselves. And there was a lot happening for me emotionally. I shared some of those things with you in that process. So for me, having the house of my dreams was somehow going to help me, heal me, save me. And so I was determined that that was going to happen. So we had picked out, I think, 3 or 4 more houses to go look at with our realtors, Julie Williams and Monica Suchek. They were our realtors for the sale of our home yesterday as well. Texas Property Sisters. If you're looking for a great realtor team, they stood by us. They helped sell Stephen's house. They helped sell my house, and they helped us purchase this house. And then now they've helped us sell this house. So big shout out to Julie Williams and Monica Suchek for just being our friends, for being our realtors, and for just being there during all of these tumultuous seasons. We just so appreciate you and for your steadfast just excellence in all things. So if you don't have a good realtor, let me know. I have a few others as well that are incredible that I know. And it's about finding a good fit. It's about finding someone that aligns with you, with your values, that is on the same page with what your desire is to sell your house, to purchase a house. And and so who you pick is so important, because they are a part of one of the biggest decisions that you're going to make. And we make that over and over again as we continue to move, an average of like 4 times a year, of 4 times or 4 years, is the average, I think, maybe for people moving, which is crazy. 3 to 4 years is the average that you buy and sell and buy and sell. Now that may change over time, but that's kind of where we're at, I think. So Julie was taking us around, and I had 3 houses left to look at. I said, okay, if it's none of these, then we're going to rent. And we walked into this house. I did by myself with Julie. I mean, I just got into the foyer and I was like, this is the one. This is the one. And I prayed about it. I was just like, okay, Lord, if this is meant to be. And I guess there was one or two other offers possibly coming in on it. And, I thought, well, gosh, our house is ready to close in about 30 days. And so if we don't find something today, it was like not going to happen because, we had a VA loan and thankful for having a VA loan as a veteran. But usually you have to give them about 30 days to close. And so what happened was we went in, we made an offer. We went back and forth maybe one time. They were not ready to move out right away, but we needed to move in right away. But once they found out our situation, they were willing to leave early because they were going to be building anyway. And it all just kind of was such a God thing how it worked out. And they accepted our offer. We just took it as is. We didn't even want them to fix anything. We just were like, we want this house. And moved heaven and earth, I'll tell you. And just in total transparency, because I think many people that bought in 22 are now trying to sell in 26, and it's tough. It is tough because the value of homes are so different right now. And I took the proceeds from the sale of my home that were amazing. The proceeds were amazing. I was able to pay off my debt, and then I took this huge down payment to put on this house because I wanted this house more than anything, and I was going to control it. Anybody ever done that? Nobody's done that, right? And so I was like, no, this is what we're doing. And so in doing that, I put that down. Well, the market has changed since we're selling our house. And so that money was basically forfeited at that point to just have a thing, to just have a thing. I was so determined that it didn't really matter. It was all about what I wanted. So I'm here to tell you that when you're so fixed on the outcome, you miss some of the things God is telling you. And I was hearing God, but I wasn't getting it. And so God still did this wonderful thing. We had this beautiful home, we had this beautiful neighborhood. But the output started to be more than it was just a thing where, okay, every month, every year, and then things look different, businesses look different, life looks different, costs look different. Our children were growing up, but there were always needs. My health issues for the last 2 years, just in and out of bed, back and forth to the doctor, not knowing how I was going to manage this or manage that. I mean, thankfully with Mary Kay, I'm able to work from bed a lot, and I have. Most people would not even know that. If you're listening to this and you had no idea about my autoimmune disease or my back pain or my ankle issues or PTSD and the things that I struggle with, I will just tell you, the Marine Corps taught me how to compartmentalize really well. And so I can do that and be good in one moment. And then in the next moment, it's a switch that flips, and I have to manage that. And so with that in mind, I thought, well, what we're doing on this track, it didn't feel comfortable anymore. And not in a, I mean, we want to be out of our comfort zone, yes, to continue to grow. What this was pain, perpetuating pain in another way to avoid. So I didn't want to have the, conversation about the pain I was experiencing in my body and in my spirit, but I was going to create pain by putting myself in a situation that was like over what I could do, because that kept me pushing, kept me driving, kept me like motivated. And, you do a lot when you're on the edge of a cliff, right? So, I say that with full transparency that we love our home. We love this neighborhood. We could do it. We were doing it, but I am a maximizer. I'm a strategist. And I also think of the end game. I think of the long game. And just the way the world has changed, the way that cost of food has gone up, the way that taxes have gone up, and all the things go up. I realized that we could do this and have this really fun, awesome life. Everything could be, extra. And, I was thanking Jesus for it, but I was like sitting here commanding the ship, holding that wheel, trying to drive, and Jesus is trying to take the wheel. And I'm like, no, I got it. That is where you will eventually crash. Everything will completely burn down. And then God steps in and says, okay, now that it's all burned down, let me build it without your help. And that's kind of what happened last year when we went to the retreat with the Chosen in October. So, thinking about all the numbers, thinking about all the things, I was like, oh, we're not selling this house. This is like our favorite home. This is the most wonderful neighborhood and place we've ever lived. And, you get prideful. You get so prideful. You're like, no, like this is mine and I'm keeping this. And, we're going to figure this out. You ever said that before? We're going to figure this out. We're going to keep figuring this out. And God really humbled me last year with a lot of things, from health challenges to a lot of big no's and things. I mean, the fall prior to that, I had given the company back my pink Cadillac. It was my second pink Cadillac. I loved that car, and I was holding on to it so tight, just like the house, just like so many things. We hold on to our accolades, we hold on to our achievements and things that we think make us something important. When you feel really small for a long time in your life and you have something that makes you feel big, it's hard not to become an idol worshiper of that. It's hard not to hold on really tightly to that and say, this makes me feel like somebody, so I can't give this up. And I want to just pause here for a second, because if you have something in your life that it's not you're holding on to it, it's got a hold on you. It's holding on to you so tight that if it were to go away, would that say something about you? Do you think that would take away your value? Do you think it would ruin your life? Do you think it would destroy you? Because the very things that you hold on to really, really tight, those are the things that God asks you to surrender. But when you do, that's when He can build it without your help. I had to experience that. So when I remember when they came and they took my pink Cadillac away, I had taken cash for the next car. So I bought a white Cadillac and I put hot pink rims on it. Steven kind of encouraged me to do that because he's got a white BMW with red rims, just cute little fun Gran Turismo model car, BMW. And so he's like, let's have some fun. He was trying to cheer me up, after about 8 months of having the white Cadillac. People are like, oh, what happened to your pink Cadillac? I said, yeah, well, now I have a white one. They're like, oh, did you level up? I was like, no, no, I just bought it on an auction and I loved that model. I loved that design, and it was just white. It was white. There was nothing significant about it. I just made the change. But if I could tell people the experience that I had inside, the pride busting of just, yeah, my Cadillac, my pink Cadillac is gone. But that doesn't say anything about me or my customer service or what kind of leader I am with my unit or my consultants. I still work for God, regardless of what car I drive. But it's amazing how just as much as we get hooked on the recognition and the accolades of our profession and earning awards and things like that, there is like a balance to all things. So over here, we're like celebrating, we're getting the rewards, we're getting the affirmations that fill our spirit and make us feel awesome and that we're on the right track. And then if we're not doing those, there's shame. And I already did an episode on shame. Okay. So y'all can go back and listen to that. But I want you to hear my heart that there are things that you do in your life, with your job, with your church, with your friends, with, the community. And in those spaces, we gravitate towards recognition, especially if you are an approval addict, which I can do an episode on that. If you're a people pleaser or you're looking for approval, then you are going to be drawn to those spaces where you can get recognition, which Mary Kay is known for their recognition. And that was the first time I had felt seen and valued for what I was doing, but that my value doesn't come from what I do. And I had to be very careful walking that line of, if I'm not producing, then I'm not purposeful. And if I'm not purposeful, then I'm pitiful. And then there's no value there. And that's not true. What we do, we can recognize, but that's not who you are. And that's not whose you are. And we have to be so careful that we don't go from the recognition helping to lift us to being, well, that's the only thing that I am. If I'm not achieving, then I'm nothing. And I think there was a moment in my time in my career where I was starting to like think that. I was like, okay, I need to pause here and ask myself, is that what God says about me? Is that true? Or where is that coming from? So even with the recognition and accolades, there's always this, well, if you don't do it, then there's this fear of losing approval, fear of rejection, fear of being shamed that you didn't hit it. And I think we have to remove ourselves from that. And it's a process. It's a process, but what you're attached to, what your fears are attached to, are going to control so much. So in that space, of giving back the pink Cadillac, getting excited about driving the white Cadillac with the pink rims. And that was really fun. And I still have that. I enjoy it. It's super fun. People are like, oh, is that the new Mary Kay car that you get? I said, no, it's the Rita Townsend exclusive. There's actually no cars on the road like mine. And that was my husband's idea. So thank you, Stephen, for reminding me to just be myself, enjoy that space. Life is too short not to have fun and to be so tied. So I had to surrender what it said about not being a pink Cadillac director anymore. Nothing. Nothing changed except what color my car was. Everything else was self-inflicted. Self-inflicted. So if something like that happened to you, maybe not, with a company car, but maybe you can mirror an incident or something that is similar. So, then moving forward, thinking about, okay, well, how do I want to change things? What do I want to do? And I took a hit emotionally and in my confidence because I thought, oh, it's going to say something about me. And then I realized nothing changed. Nothing really changed. And so that was okay. But then, fast forward, we are going to the retreat in October last year. We spent 4 glorious days at Camp Hoblizel with some of the cast members of The Chosen. The creator of the show, Dallas Jenkins, was there. Chris Durbin was there. Jelaine was there. It was just an awesome time. Brad Fogarty was there. We got to be on the set. We got to do a tour. And I remember being on the tour. They had a little pavilion area. It was like an amphitheater with this beautiful cross overlooking the water because they had this huge like lake out there. And so there's this beautiful cross, well lit, gigantic. It was gigantic, with an amphitheater built around the cross. And they had beautiful, soft music. We would go down there every night and we would pray. And when I was praying, it was like the first night you're there, you're kind of like, excited. And, you still have all the people that you've been talking to all day, the interactive energy, and, you're getting onto the camp. It's the afternoon. You've been driving. We only had to drive maybe an hour and a half. And so you still have all of this city energy. From being just around people and things like that. But once we got there, we were just taking a walk around the camp and we got to that amphitheater. And I could feel the Holy Spirit there. It was just like I had to just like sit down. I felt like almost like I just wanted to fall to my knees. It was just so holy. And it was so like my skin just felt like it was disintegrating and my spirit was just flying outside of my body. It was just being there in that space. And I felt the Holy Spirit just surrounding me and surrounding me, but it was very intentional. And so I saw that there were little stations where you could write your prayer requests. You could also write in the guest book, like your experience while you were there so that people could look back on it later. There was communion there if you wanted to take communion. There was all these little stations. And my husband's like, well, do you want to write your prayer request? And I immediately was like, I had felt this gut wrenching, like pain in my stomach. Like I was nervous because I felt God calling me to do something really big. I felt him calling me to do something really big. And I was like, I'm not afraid of my Holy Father. I knew whatever that I did was going to change my whole life. It was like, I had that transformational moment, right? I talked about that on one of my episodes. And said, "Oh, I need to think about it, and then I will put my prayer." I already knew what I was supposed to ask for. You ever had that? Like, you know what you're supposed to ask for. And so I decided, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do that when we come back. Like, let's go to dinner and walk around. I just didn't want to like jump on the main event the minute I get there, which for me was going to be basically surgery. It was going to be spiritual surgery where he was going to remove everything inside of me, and I was going to have that rebuilt over time. And so I want to encourage you, if you feel that, to lean into it. Don't run away from it. Don't hide from it. Lean into it, because it will be the most horrific, hard, incredible time of your life. Like, it's going to be hard, but then once you get past the hard, you're going to realize, like, I am so thankful I did this. So fast forward, we are at the retreat, and we had the day of fun. We got to go zip lining. We got to feed all of the longhorns, ride a horse. We got to do all these things on the camp. I mean, it was like a day of me being a 12-year-old at camp again. And it was the most exhilarating thing to just turn off my phone, be with 100 people who love Jesus. And we prayed for each other. We did prayer circles. We rode horses together. We, got to just know the campers, basically, that were all part of the Chosen retreat. There was only 100 of us in the whole place. And when you think about all the fans of the Chosen, and 100 people were there, it was not a lot of people. So we got to make friends and pray for each other, and it was just so happy. It was like, I imagine like that's what heaven is like, is just being together and having all these experiences and just loving on each other, and nothing else existed. And so we went back to that amphitheater that night, and I just felt heavy, and I said, I'm going to write my prayer request. And I secretly wrote it. I wrote down what I knew I needed to ask God for. And I had this question and this desire for clarity for a long time, probably a couple of years. And it's like I almost knew the answer, but I was like, no, I just need to like write it all down, make it all plain, like he tells us, and then turn it into the little, woven box. And then I'm going to walk away, and hopefully he'll just make it pretty. So I put it in the box, and then I started weeping, and I sat on the stairs of the amphitheater right in front of the box. And I just bowed my head, and I just prayed about it. And I cried, and I talked to God, and I just said, hey, here I am. I am finally asking you the question I have been so terrified to ask, because I think I already know the answer, but here I am, and I'm ready this time. I'm ready this time. And sometimes you're not ready, and that's okay. But if you don't ask him, he's going to hang on to it until you're ready. Because once you are, it's full steam ahead. I'll just put it that way. It's full steam ahead. So if you're ready for him to answer, go ahead, ask, surrender it all, toss it to the wind, let him mess with it. And then you have no control of the outcome. You don't even care what the outcome is. You just know if it's his outcome for you, you're going to receive it. So Stephen was kind of rubbing my back, and he actually took a picture of me like with my head bowed down in front of the basket with the beautiful cross overlooking the water. And there's just this picture of me just surrendering to what I just wrote. And to this day, I don't even remember what I wrote. I kind of blacked out. I know I like gushed it out on paper and folded it up and stuffed it in the box as deep down as I could get it, And then I said, okay, like, I know that whenever he's ready to answer me, he will. And it's probably not going to be for a long time. So I'm already bargaining with him about not answering me right away, because I may not be ready. I just stuffed everything in the box, but here we are. And I'll just, I'll wait. And so we came back up to our room for the night. And then the next day we went out And so what I love about the retreat is we spent more time with God than we did doing anything. And that was just so special to be in that space and able to just be in nature and to really receive what God was giving to you and interact with the campers if you felt like it. And we made some really good friends. Mel and Janine were an older couple that sat next to us when we first got there. So we ended up sitting next to them every single meal, every single service, every single thing that we did, we found them, and we were like the couples that were together. And everybody kept asking if we were newlyweds because we were in all the photos. They were taking photos all day, every day. And then when we would have our worship service at night, they would put the video reel up of all the photos for the day. We would take pictures and we would upload them to the band app and to our group. And so my husband and I have all these photos of us like with the horses, with this, zip lining, all that videos. Like everybody was just like, oh, they're like the newlywed couple. We're like, no, we're not newlyweds. And they thought we were a lot younger than we are. I was like, my husband's like 54 and I'm 44. And, they just couldn't believe it. I said, wow, when you have the Holy Spirit in you, like you just look younger. So anyway, to kind of circle the wagons here, we spent time with Janine and Mel and made some friends. And Stacy, I got to make friends with Stacy Tomlinson that was there, and she and I still talk. And she's an amazing person. She's been an extra on the set of The Chosen many times, and just a wonderful person. So here we are, at this event, and then we got to go to the set tour. And they were walking us through season 6 that had just been filmed. They were going to be tearing it down because season 7 was not going to have all of these sets anymore. So we were walking through a set that they were about to tear down, but they had just done the filming for the crucifixion. So we weren't able to record or film or do any photos or anything like that, but we were just supposed to be in that space. And they had the most beautiful music, which is the instrumental music from The Chosen that they were playing throughout as we walked throughout the town. And they brought us to the scourging pad, the room with a scourging pad. I may have mentioned that in another episode. And you could still see the blood of Jesus on the scourging pad, and it formed a cross. And we were just sitting in there probably for about 30 minutes. And I think everyone was just weeping because of what he did for us. And he did it like with no regrets, with no remorse, just totally surrendered himself. He surrendered his body, his soul, his everything for us. He died for me. It was such an overwhelming experience to really just look at that. It was just a replication, but it represented what really happened. And I think every single person in the room was experiencing like what he did for them individually. And I just stood there and I was like, okay. They had given us these stones the night before at church service. They gave us these stones and we got to write either a word or we wrote something on them as a thank you for something God has done for us. And so we had written on our stone, like what, we wanted to thank God for, or just something we were grateful for. And I had written on mine, set free, because I know he set me free. I do. Like, I am trying so hard to just get through this episode because I could be bawling right now, thinking about what he's done for me in my life, not even what he did on the cross. So standing in that scourging pad and really just watching other people's reactions, and then just feeling that spirit circling me again, that hug like I felt at the amphitheater. And so I took my stone. We were able to set our stones down anywhere in the set, and they were going to film it, picture it, and have that forever before they tore everything down. So I took my stone and I put it on the scourging pad where he died, or where he was scourged before he died. Like, it was just, thank you. Like, I can't even describe what I was feeling. So I sat on the edge of I sat on the edge of it, and Stephen sat next to me, and I bowed my head and just started just pouring out gratitude for what Jesus had done for me and for everyone, so that we could live with our Heavenly Father and our sins would be forgiven. and couldn't even imagine what he went through. And you'll see that when they release The Chosen season 6 in the fall. It should be in October, and then the crucifixion episode will be in around Easter of 2027. And so these are things that we got to experience ahead of time, just where they filmed. So as I'm bowing my head and praying, as soon as I closed my eyes and I just laid my hands out and was like, I just lay it all on this pad right here. Like all these things I've been holding on to, all of my fears, all the things that I have clutched more than I've clutched you. I just want to set them on this. And I want you to take them and tell me what I'm supposed to do. And he spoke to me so clearly, so plainly. It was just, I almost like, what? That's so simple. Just so simple. It was like laid out in front of me exactly like, no, everything that you have right now, you're not supposed to have. You've done all of these things for you. What have you done for me? Because if you do things for me, they will be greater, bigger, larger, beyond your wildest imaginations is what I have for you. But you're holding on to this stuff that you created, and it's fake. It's not for you at all. And you think that's it. And if you only knew what I had behind the curtain, you would have let those go a long time ago. I just was like, oh my gosh, like I felt my heart just sink. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Lord, I'm so sorry. I said, but I don't know how to handle your answer. I'm a pragmatic person and a logical person, and my faith is strong. I said, I'm not sure how to go from what I am right now to what you're asking me to be. I feel overwhelmed and I feel lost, and I don't know what that looks like. I said, yes, the answer is yes, Lord. I will do whatever you're asking me to do, but I don't know how. I don't know where to start. I don't know what you want me to do. And so we got up. I'm weeping at this point because, I mean, God has just shown me the answer that I had asked for him the day before at the amphitheater when I put that little scribble of paper. He's like, okay, you're ready. Here it is. And it was not what I wanted to hear. It was not what I wanted to hear. And so we walk up the stairs to the second level, where it was overlooking the entire the entire scene, the scourging pad, the cross in blood on the pad, everything. You could see all of that from the top, from the rooftop. So we walked up there, and I said, I want to go up here and pray. So as I walked up, I put my hands over the railings. So I had my hands like clutching the rail right there, the wooden rail, overlooking the pad. And I just cried. I said, God, I need help with this. Like, I just need your comfort. And no sooner did I say comfort in my spirit, a butterfly, a little butterfly, this like whitish brown butterfly, landed right by my pinky, like literally could touch my pinky on my left hand. As I was clutching I was gripping it because I was just experiencing so much spiritual, just unrest and shock and questions. And I asked for comfort. And the minute I asked for comfort, that butterfly landed. And it just all of a sudden, it was like it came out of nowhere, because we were on this set. We were on a set. It was outside. The top had no roof, but we were, it was still just on a set. And it landed on my, like right by my pinky. And then it opened and closed its wings to get my attention. And Stephen leaned over, he goes, do you see that? I was like, yes. He's with me, and he just proved to me that he is here comforting me. I asked for comfort, and he is here. And the butterfly symbolizes transformation. It symbolizes being in the chrysalis, that bloody battle of turning from that caterpillar into the most beautiful butterfly. But that process is grueling. It's hard. But that butterfly comes out as the most magnificent, beautiful, angelic creature on our earth. And it is a symbol of change. And so in that moment, that was God comforting me and giving me confirmation that it was okay. And that is why, if you look at my Remedy Truth podcast and coaching logo, right on the R, on the top corner, you'll see a tiny little butterfly. It's very small, but now you know exactly where that came from. You'll know exactly where that came from, is that moment, because that was the moment that God took all the things that were not him out of me. And I will never forget that moment because I have been changed ever since. I have had friends, even Elizabeth Mahusai yesterday. Y'all know Go with Elizabeth. Elizabeth Mahusai, one of my best friends here in McKinney. She was one of the first women that I met when I moved here, when I went to my first networking group and sat next to her and Fred. They have been lifelong family friends, and I prayed for her. I prayed for a professional woman that I could have as a friend when I moved here that would keep me grounded in the Lord and grounded in who he had created me to be. When I moved to Texas, completely afraid, not knowing anyone, and he brought me Lori Kruger when I went to church for the first time with my daughter after, for a little kids program. And she was the first person that I met there. I met Kathy Blank at the chamber when I first moved here. She was the first chamber person that I met. And then my first chamber event, Elizabeth and Fred. So I feel like those people have been doves for me in my life since I first moved here and helped ground me, because the Holy Spirit lives in all of them. And I'm just forever grateful for what they have represented and still represent in my life. So hopefully they hear this and know that. But I was talking with Elizabeth yesterday and she said, just the difference in how you were a year ago and who you are like standing here today is different. And it was that moment. It was that transformational moment when God took away all of those things that were not of him. And it reminds me of when he called Peter and John to drop their nets. And he said, leave your fishing boat, drop your nets, follow me, you'll become fishers of men. And when God calls you, you don't say no, you don't wait or well, come back to me. Let me think about it. It's like, it's done. And I remember we left that scourging pad and I looked my husband in the eyes and I said, I'm different. I'm different. I've been saved since I was 6 years old when I got baptized. And I will just tell you right now, like that moment, I was totally born again or whatever, like in a different way, because now everything that is a part of me is all him. There is nothing of self left. And I think that's why I was miserable, as I was trying to create everything on my own, not let him build it without my help. Of course, he calls us for our free will to make those decisions and to hear him and act on what he tells us. But not because we are controlling it or manipulating the outcome or even trying to manipulate people to do what we think they should do. We shouldn't be in people's ear. Okay, we should have God in people's ear and then they're listening to him. But if we're chirping in people's ear, trying to tell them what to do and how to think and how to be, we're going to hinder everything he has for them. I can't imagine if I had missed that moment because I was talking to someone else or looking for someone else to give me an answer or an earthly remedy or earthly response. It's so special when you can truly accept what he says, even when you don't like it, because he's telling you what's coming. He's at the end of your life and he is for you. And so knowing that, I'm like, okay, well then what your plans are probably look better than mine. So we talked about in November, I looked at Stephen and I said, we have to give up this house. This house is beautiful. It is amazing. It is wonderful, but it is not stewarding our money well. Our money is going to these things that we've created for ourselves, not him. And so God called me out on that. He also called me out. I had earned all these diamonds with Mary Kay. And I know some of my Mary Kay sisters are probably going to faint when I share this. But one of the first things that I was clutching so hard was all of my accomplishments. When you achieve in Mary Kay, you earn diamond rings. You earn diamond bumblebees. When you do the court of sharing, I've earned 11, which is, there's people who've never done it, and I did it 11 times. I also have, bar pens and other jewelry and things that all had so much value because they represented, my almost 17 years in the company of achieving. And I was so proud of all of that, and only to realize it's moth eaten. And at the end of the day, it's not honoring him. It's not serving him. It's serving myself. It's serving my ego. And I'm literally making coleslaw. I'm stirring up the coleslaw and talking to God. I mean, I talk to God all day. Like he's just right there on my shoulder and we're talking about everything. And I'm in the kitchen and I hear suddenly in my spirit, you're going to sell all those diamonds and you're going to take that money and you're going to pay it on your debt. And you are going to be free of that because you have made that an idol and you're going to be free of that. And I was like, well, wait, Lord, now hold on. Like, that's my career there. That he's like, and what else can you do with that I can't use you for with something else if you honor me, not yourself? I sat there. I literally slid down the counter and sat and stared at the floor for about 30 minutes. Stephen came home from work. He's like, what are you doing on the floor? I said, I have to sell my diamonds. He's like, okay, what's going on? I said, because all of that work, all of that effort, all of the things I did in my career were for myself. That yes, I helped people. Yes, I lifted people with his word, but I did it for me. I didn't do it for him. And so I can't hold on to those things because I can't move forward if I'm still about myself. And I said, I feel like he needs me to do this. And so I had to research. I talked to somebody in the chamber that connected me with Harry and Jonathan that were able to give me a fair price on everything. And I sold all of my diamonds. I mean, nothing. I sold them and took that money and I sewed it and stewarded it very well. And I'm very proud of myself. That was the first step in me having that surgery within myself. I said, it's not about pride. This is about who I'm living for. And I want it to be for God. And I can't do that if all these things surrounding me are about me and me being great and me having this, God will give me the platform if I honor him. And so I did that. So some of y'all are probably fainting right now. I can't believe I'm telling you guys this on my podcast, but here it is. And so I did that. And then God called me to continue. And so I went through my wardrobe and I donated more things. I donated thousands of dollars to a women's shelter. And I took care of my friend Brooke Jones. She owns Stronger Women, and they help women coming out of domestic violence situations and help them get back on their feet. And I donated thousands of dollars in product and supplies and gifts and I was like, I have all this stuff and I want to lift up other women in a way where they know that they are loved and they are valued and I don't need this anymore. And I don't say all of this on here to brag about myself. I want you to understand these were things that I was hoarding because I was about me. And I had to give those up. And so God was calling me to surrender, give this up, let this go. Don't hold on to these things. And it was like this shedding of myself and recloaking me with him. And so I humbly share this and want no recognition for this whatsoever. I want to encourage you, if there's things in your life that you've been hanging on to or thinking that it made you important or better, when you know full well that you could be stewarding your things, your gifts, your talents, your money, whatever it is, in a different way that will honor the kingdom and will honor God, then lean into that. Don't walk away from that. Ask God more about that. These were prayers that I prayed. This was daily conversations like, what do you want me to do, God? What do you want me to do? That's really hard, God, but there were times I did it with tears in my eyes because he was changing me. He was changing me. It wasn't that I was doing it joyfully and like, great, I'm going to feel so good getting rid of it. No, I would crying all the way. And then after it was done, I felt that spirit in and around me, holding me, telling me, it's one more step. We're building one more part of you that is all me. It is all me. And I was like, okay, I can handle this. He was continuing to comfort me in the growth. He was comforting me in the growth. And so this wasn't some joyride. This wasn't some like all right, we're gonna do this thing. And no, it was like, okay, I'm doing this out of obedience. Reminds me when he asked Isaac to put his son on the altar to be sacrificed. And he waited until he got all the way up there, or his son Isaac. And he waited till he got all the way up there to put him on the altar. And, with tears in his eyes, he's like, God, you're asking me to sacrifice my son and put him on the altar. But if that's what you want me to do. And so he put him on the altar, and just gut wrenching, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm giving up my son. And then God said, nope, we're not hurting him. I just needed to know that you are willing to do that. And so are you willing? Are you willing to sacrifice those things? So you're probably thinking, okay, how does all this still revolve around you selling your house? It's a long process, a long story. I probably will have way more for you once we move with more things. But I want you to know the backstory of this, because to me, this is God getting credit. This is not me. This is God getting credit. I want to give him credit for how he walked with me, how he held my hand through getting over myself, through letting go of myself, through really just taking everything from him and making it me, and taking all of me out of it. And in Romans chapter 8, God calls us to die to ourselves, and we're killed all the day long. We die every day to our humanness, our human emotion, our pride, our guilt, our need for perfection, our need for recognition and value. All those things come from him, but we try to get them in the world, and by what we do, by our accolades. Yes, those things are fun and they're great. Are you using it to be a platform for God, or are you using it to be God in a platform? We have to be careful. And I had to really evaluate that myself. So I sit here very humbly sharing this with you. I've wanted to for a while, but I had to work through that. I had to continue to grow. A butterfly cannot reveal itself until it gets out of the cocoon. And I feel like selling this house was a big step in that direction, because we were talking about it. I looked at Steven. I said, we have to sell this house. I said, this house is something that I wanted so badly that I told God it was happening, whether he liked it or not. And that's not really a conversation you want to have with God. And so I think in that process, that's why when we talked with Julie and Monica, we kind of figured out things, and I was able to come to terms with listing the house much lower, just because I knew that God was calling me to surrender it, regardless of how much I made or what you didn't make, or if we were going to break even or whatever was going to happen because of the market, being very different than it was in 22, and just making peace with the loss, making peace with whatever, because it's all his. He's going to turn it beautiful when you just give it over to him. Instead of trying to manage it and control it, you actually crush things with your force instead of handing it to him and letting him create something that you can't. You can't do those things. You think you can. But if you could imagine what it looks like to just hand it to him. So when we listed the house, we only had 4 people look at it. 4. 3 of them were considering offers and kind of going back and forth, new build or you guys or whatever. Then, we had a family that's, they live in Virginia, I guess a veteran family, live in Virginia and are going to be relocating here. The husband literally was here this morning, did a quick walkthrough while the house is trashed after we were in the throes of packing, but he'd never seen it. They purchased it. The wife came and looked at it for like 30 minutes. And then they purchased it. He'd never seen it. Got to meet him this morning. What a blessing. They're excited to move here. They have a child that's in elementary school, so they'll go to the school in our neighborhood. That's so great. And we got the contract in 19 days. We live in Trinity Falls. There's a lot of comments and things in the neighborhood about, we have 122 houses listed, probably more in the neighborhood, just because of people moving and changing or whatever. That's just the time. It's the time. It's a buyer's market. So a lot of people are making changes from after COVID, and that's okay. People always are in cycles of change. So it doesn't really reflect anything. But because of that, I think a lot of people have listed their house a little bit higher, than what the market really is, because they're hoping to make gains on when they purchased it or how it went. And so they're pushing the market, trying to keep the numbers up. But what I did was kind of think, okay, well, if I listed it this, it's lower. It's a little bit lower than market value, but it's competitive. It still keeps the value in the neighborhood, which is very important to me. I wanted it to be fair. I wanted it to be fair. And honestly, the appraisal, everything came back within hundreds of dollars. I mean, it was exactly what it was supposed to be, but God kind of gave me that piece and that number to just let go and just put that exactly the way it was. And I just constantly took all of those choices. Okay, God, what are we doing here? How much are we listing this for? What is our thoughts? What are we going to, when are we listing? How is that going to look? And so God kind of even gave me the time and the date. And I would lean on Monica and Julie about that and just tell me, instead of me being at the helm dictating how I wanted it to go every day, every night. Stephen and I told y'all, we pray every night, take turns going. And it's an emotional process. We had days where it was like, we were frustrated about this and angry about that and wanted to sell this and we were going to do this and we were going to build. And, then we'd be frustrated at each other. And I was like, okay, it's bedtime. It's time for you to pray. He's like, oh, because he's like, well, once you take it to the Lord, you have to apologize for your behavior. So, I'm having this day where I'm just frustrated and, this is happening, or this has to be fixed, or this has to be painted. And then we go to bed and it was time to pray. And you're like, oh, Lord, I've been a jerk. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. And so every night we would pray about we would pray for the realtors. We would pray for the home inspector. We would pray for the builder. We would pray for all these things because we found, a piece of land in Van Alstyne. It's a 1 1/3 acres, but there was these issues with the electric poles being in the middle and just, well, what are we doing with that? And then we were thinking we were going to buy a cabin and went through all the steps to design it, figure it out. We had 3 days to come up with a design, and things started snowballing. Things started being really rushed, and we kept praying God, if this is not it, close the door. And we'd figure out that wasn't going to work out. And we were never crushed. We were never sad or devastated about things not working out. We knew, because we prayed every night and asked for that to either be in his will or not in his will. And we didn't pray, Lord, let this happen. We prayed, Lord, whatever you want to happen, that's what we want. And so when things fell apart constantly, we spent 3 weeks trying to get an RV because we were going to live out of the RV and we were going to do that. And we were going to get a slip for the RV. And, then it was too much. And then the money wasn't there. And then this happened. And then we canceled that. And then we were looking for a rental. We found an Airbnb, but because we have a Akita, there's so few places that would even let us stay. So if you can imagine, it was we had doors slammed in our face all the time, or we would hire a contractor and then we would have to cancel it. And I've never had so many things change and been so balanced. I mean, even now our house is trashed. We still have to be out. The second pod, they're removing it on Saturday. Everything has to be in. And then we have the rental on Sunday. We have to move all of our stuff that's staying with us for 2 months. We have 2 months of renting before our cute little manufactured home from Henches is going to be delivered to the property. We have to get a culvert ordered and get the permit for that. Then they're going to do the water meter. Then we also have to get an aerobic septic tank put in. We have to get just a pad or something to put the little mobile home on. It's going to be really cute, but we're going to live out of that simply. I mean, where we can survive off one person's income, and we are going to get goats. We're going to have chickens, and probably I want a duck or two because I can eat duck eggs. I'm allergic to chicken eggs, so I can't have chicken eggs. But I want to grow all my fruits and vegetables. I want fruit trees on a whole side of the property. The property is kind of in a square. It's a 2-parcel property. We're purchasing half, and it's kind of in a square. 3 of the sides are surrounded by trees, like tree lines. So it's very private. It's off a little country road off of FM 121, right outside of Van Alstyne. It's out of the city limits. And it's in Van Alstyne school districts. It's a great little country town. We're really excited, but we've prayed. We looked for 4 years. Jake Enderman has been our realtor for 4 years looking for land, and we just never found anything that worked. And we had 3 or 4 other properties. We tried to put offers in, things fell through. This didn't work out. One example, we had a property in Blue Ridge. It was perfect. Okay. It was perfect. The couple had lived there 50 years and passed away, and the children inherited the home. It was a 1978 little cottage home. There was like 17 acres of land. We were going to purchase like 6 or 7 of the acres. It was going to be this incredible thing. We were going to remodel the little cottage, and it was just going to be this cute little country living, right? I mean, between getting the agent to actually respond to us and then the children, I guess, that invested and have the land, like they inherited it and they didn't want to sell the certain pieces we wanted. Then we figured out that the foundation was completely destroyed and we were going to have to do foundation repair. And I mean, it was turning into all this stuff. And, but we just really wanted it, right? When you really want something. And so I remember being in my car after talking with Jake on the phone, and he was going to kind of talk back with the agent because they had gotten another offer. We had an offer on the table, but we were still trying to work through the details. And then they got another offer. And we're like, well, we really want this, but we're trying to work out what makes sense and we want to protect ourselves. So I sat in my car. I'm in the drive, or I'm driving to my next appointment or something. And I just said, Lord, if this is not the right path, I need you to shut the door. I need you to tell me what to do here because, we are thinking we want this, but I want what you want. So if this is wrong, I want you to shut the door. 2 minutes. I'm not kidding. Maybe a minute and a half. Jake sent me a text and said, hey, they took the other offer. The property is no longer available. And I said, thank you. Thank you. I didn't get mad. I didn't say, darn it. Nothing. I said, you know what? Great. When you can get to the place, I mean, what would that look like for you? If you struggle with getting news or information or something changes and it destroys your day, your attitude, your energy, your physical health, your mental health. If news that you don't like affects you, I want to challenge you to ask, where is your faith lie? Does your faith lie in what you can do on your own? Or does your faith lie with your Heavenly Father? Because if you're leaning on God to orchestrate, when something cancels, you'll be fine. When something falls through, you'll be fine. When something, is returned, you'll be fine. If, your plans change 10 times, you will be fine. And if you're not, I challenge you to ask yourself, where is that coming from? Where is my faith? What am I attaching to these outcomes? Am I thinking it's me that's in control? Or am I surrendering it over? Because what I'll tell you is when you surrender it over, man, I mean, even with the selling of this house and, we got an inspector's report and there were different things, the discrepancies that we were, looking at this item, looking at that item, figuring things out, weighing this out and getting this replaced or doing, it was like, it was going to be okay. It just, even though it was like, this is like, like when all these things are happening and you just want like a smooth situation, you're not going to get it. You're not. But you reveal where your faith is with how you respond to all the outcomes. Every little outcome, how you feel during that outcome it will determine where your faith is. So if your faith is not in trusting the Lord or surrendering, maybe it's time to not spend so much time on the outcome and spend more time on who's a part of the outcome. I spend so much time with God that when things don't work out or this thing canceled, we were right in the middle of our cabin build and we thought we were going to have this awesome little cabin. It was going to be great. And it was all the bells and whistles. And then it was like $200,000 more than we planned. Then no matter what we did, we couldn't get it down. Then we couldn't get it the right size. We couldn't do this. We couldn't do that. And it was like, okay, can we get it to this price? No. I said, okay, well then I don't want to waste any more of your time because this is not the only option. I just truly believe this is not the right path. Thank you so much. When that time comes, maybe we'll try later. So I was willing to constantly say no, constantly pivot, constantly change the plan. Now, many of you that know me, especially as a Marine, when you got a blueprint, it's like, we don't want to play, we don't want to change that plan. We want it to be exactly what it is. This is how we're doing it. Sorry. I mean, that was the old me. That was the me that lived for me. This is the me that lives for Jesus. This is the me that lives for God. And so if it changes 20 times, okay, it's because the wrong things came up first, and those have to be weeded out. Um, when you get to that place, it's not the swan going across the lake where the top is all calm and then the bottom is nonsense. It's the entire bird that is calm. I mean, can you imagine what that would feel like if below the water and above the water was calm? Yeah. Okay, so we have our land closing today in like an hour. So I'm going to have to get off of here. But I do want to just kind of share some things with you that even in this process, like there were so many times it didn't look like it was going to come together, or we would just not feel at peace. And just the minute we would surrender that plan, surrender that idea, like, no, maybe this RV isn't the right thing. No, maybe that cabin is not the way to go. No, maybe we should rent. No, I'm telling you, it is a different life when you have no concern with the outcome because you know who's in charge of it and it's not you. When you think you're in charge of the outcome, you're a perfectionist, you're like bossy, and then you get angry and right? Like you just like intolerable people. I was one of them. I was insufferable because it was like if I couldn't have it my way, oh my gosh, nobody wanted to be around me. And I realized looking back, like, wow, that day, that butterfly landed by my hand, and I completely was reborn in a way that only God can do. And so, even with this podcast, I'm so excited to continue this podcast. And I'm going to be writing some books to go along with it because God has called me to write some books. And I'm also going to be leaning into doing more of my coaching, one-on-one coaching, but I also want to do workshops. So I plan on, if you live local, doing some more workshops in the coming months once we kind of get things settled. Of course, I had to downsize my studio. So I had, this whole store. And now, I mean, I've probably downsized about a third, but I need to downsize another third of it because I still have so much product. So I'm, of course, still your Mary Kay girl, still going to be able to service all my customers all over the US, still work with my consultants. I love them. So grateful for them. But I also know that I'm surrendering the path. I'm surrendering what God has. And I'm not going to put my foot down and say, no, God, this is what I want to do. I'm like, no, God, I want what you want me to do. And it's going to be way, way better. So I hope that this fun little story from the retreat all the way to now, I mean, there's so much I didn't tell you with the details and just how things happened. And there's different professionals that I do want to thank for helping make our home sell and helping to get the land. And there's people that they offered their services, they offered quotes, they showed up, and some of them didn't get business from me, but they still showed up, and they will always have my respect and my referrals because when the timing is right, they will get business. We did have to replace some windows, and I just want to give a shout out to Olu Ojo, because he and his team did amazing. So if you need windows replaced, he's your guy. Shout out to David Garcia. We just needed a roof inspection within like an hour with a report before the option period ended. He showed up. He was on a roof, and he got off that roof and ran over here, get on our roof, and did a report for us to send to our buyers in the final hour on a Friday. I mean, he just showed up for us, and he wasn't looking for a sale or anything like that. He's a dear friend. We've been friends for 10 years. He's a wonderful family man. They have a business called Boomerang Cares. It's their nonprofit, but he's roofing on top. Great guy, but I mean, just heart and integrity. I'm just so grateful for him. want to thank him. There's several other professionals that I also want to highlight and want to, in my next episodes. Brian Jones with J&M Contracting Solutions. I called him probably 5 or 6 different times, showed up to our land to give us quotes, showed up at our house to look at our roof as well. Also, was working with us to be the general contractor before we changed paths on the build. I mean, just I appreciate him as well. He was constantly answering his phone and willing to show up and try. And thank you, Brian Jones. Thank you very much for all of your help as well. He had a whole team of guys. He sent an electrician to me, Shane, who did an amazing job as a master electrician. I'll send you his info if you need that. Yeah, and my HVAC guy, Charles Sherwood, he's been my guy for 9 years. Came out, helped take care of all the things we needed to. So, I mean, I'm so blessed, y'all. I'm so blessed that so much stuff went wrong and did not work out, because Stephen and I feel like this land closing we're about to do is exactly where God wants us to be. And we have just surrendered to all of that. I also want to give a huge shout out. She's my best friend, Lisa Smith, and she is with Nexa Mortgage. But she has helped us with the loan process, helped us when we went from a one-time close to then doing a land close to back and forth. And I mean, she and I spent hours on the phone doing research, figuring things out. I was able to get lots of quotes. I was able to do a lot of the general contracting work myself just because of her educating me on what needed to be done when we didn't have anybody yet. So if you need a mortgage, if you need a lender, you need someone to help with refi, she is my girl and she is yours. Lisa Smith is incredible. And so if you ever need someone that will be by your phone day and night to help you, she is your person. So she's my person. She's going to be at our closing here in a minute. But I hope that this gives you courage. And even in the chaos, sometimes the more chaotic something is, the easier it is to hear God, because you can just turn everything off. Turn off all the chaos, turn off all the people, all the noise, all the expectations. And then what's left is God's voice. What's left is God's voice. And I stopped praying for what I wanted almost a year ago. I stopped praying I want this, I want that, God give me this, God make this happen. No. I pray okay, Lord, if this is not in your plan, change it. It shut the door. When I pray for God to shut the doors that he doesn't have for me, be prepared to be moved. It will happen really fast. He will shut those doors so quick. And if it's for me, I say, open the door wide, Lord, push me through. Help me to know, help me to have clarity, pray for the things the provisions. I don't pray for the things. We're not here for stuff. We're not here for the things. We're here for the provisions. Pray for the patience. Pray for the clarity. Pray for the peace and the discernment. I want those things, the wisdom pieces, which he says are so important and so valuable. The stuff collects dust and moth-eaten. It's rusted. We can't take it with us. We can't even share it with other people. But when you have a discernment, when you have integrity, when you have that peace, that surrender of this thing that you think that you want, and you give it over to him and you pray for him to make it, I mean, it's going to be the coolest thing ever. And your life is going to be so fulfilled because you don't have to do anything but surrender. I have heard the word surrender most of my life, and it seems scary. But the minute that I actually did at the chosen retreat in front of that scourging pad, and that butterfly landed on my hand, and he poured out all the things that were me, and he poured himself in, I am forever changed. And so I just want to share that. And so this move is a part of that. This move is releasing and surrendering the life I wanted for me originally that had nothing to do with giving him glory. And now I feel like I can live a totally different life because of it. So if that resonates with you or that excites you, leave me a comment, leave me a message, post on here, share this message if you feel like someone needs to hear this. Because there's a lot of people going through a lot of pain and a lot of challenge and trying to figure it out or control it. And maybe that's not the answer. Maybe surrendering it and letting God build it without your help is the answer. And he'll build it a lot better than I can or than you can. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for following on Spotify. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube. And I would love to get some more people listening, because you just never know who we could bless with this story. So have a wonderful, wonderful day. Here's to the land closing and for God to just work out whatever he wants us to do. And we are going to be excited about whatever that is. So y'all have a great day. And this is Rita Townsend with Remedy Truth. And I will see you guys at my next location.